Hi, this is a solar return reading for Isabelle. So excited to do the solar return reading. Happy birthday, solar return, another trip around the sun. What I like to start with is just looking at the original big three to what the big three looks like now for this year. These will be the most accessible areas of consciousness. Then we can look into other parts and the aspects that jump out. I kind of just go from there. But I am excited to see that there are a lot of things to accomplish this year for you. So let's get started. So originally, your big three was a Taurus rising and a Libra sun and a Scorpio moon. And this year, we're going to see that you're going to embody more of the psychological influences of having a Libra rising, Libra sun, and Gemini moon. So, right away, this is a hugely mind shift from more emotional, practical realms to one of fully air and intellectual. So I see this and I think instantly that it's going to be a big year for communication, being able to use your words to connect yourself to other people. This is more of a year about thoughts and intellectual pursuits, maybe new studies, um, maybe new ways of communicating, but really building the bridges to communicate with other people and maybe the tendency of dealing with emotional natures internally with that Scorpio moon will now shift into a need to get things out. And I see that being a theme of the year. So I like to just say that right away. It looks like there are internal healing that has already happened through the course of your life. And now I feel like you're really looking towards where you stand in your partnerships and maybe working on being direct and getting some information across, and then to build deeper connections with those that you really care about. So, with the shift of the Libra sun now also being the Libra rising, it's interesting because a Taurus rising is already a Venus ruled chart. So now you have this again Venus ruled chart that's always a prominent energy in your chart. Venus being the planet of beauty, love, harmony. In the sign of Libra, we shift this more feminine Taurus energy of receiving sensuality and more aesthetic, pleasing energy to more of a masculine or yang Libra expression. So, where Taurus expresses the Venus influence as being really appreciative of the beauty and sensual indulgences, even in life, that brings peace. Libra is more actively looking and trying to make peace in their life. So there's justice seekers really creating an environment of fairness and of bringing this fair mindedness, ability to see both sides and creating this balance for those around them. Now we're taking this energy of Venus and we're acting on it, and we're really concerned about the well being of people in our one to one lives, where this Venus in Taurus rising would be more of an inner energy of following instinctual desires of receiving peaceful Venus energy through the beauty of nature, music, all the senses. That's more of that feminine energy. The Libra energy is now actively seeking out justice in our world and creating peace in relationships and in the community at large. So there's a little more oomph to your energy right away in situations. And you might find yourself sometimes Libra rising in its search for achieving balance and serenity. It is experiences some chaos because they are the ones that bring the peace. But to do that, sometimes you might find yourself drawn into situations where there is some sort of injustice or there's some sort of argumentativeness that you are there to moderate or bring about a peaceful mediator solution to these situations. So more like personal entanglements, more dualities, seeing that things, people in your presence see things more black and white, and you come in to show the shades of gray and the dualities that exist. You're the bridge to ease the harshness of that black and white mindedness. You might already feel that way because you have the Libra sun. So this is 0 degree, this critical degree Libra sun. You already are used to this on some level because a 0 degree Libra sun has come new into this Libra energy. And it's really one that is of really being immersed in that already, to learn quickly, learn on your feet, learn as you go, to have these qualities as well. So you might find now this year that since your rising and your sun are the same, there is even a faster response. Time is not wasted on trying to understand new situations and then feel about how do you want to go about handling things. Having the same rising and sun is nice because you can just have this flow of consciousness. You instantly are in a new situation, and then your sun sign is already on board with how you've perceived that. So there's this direct flow of energy and an ability to come to your feelings and your take on things quicker. In the sign of air, you might find that your just mental energy is really alive this year. You might feel like you're suddenly, the light bulb turns on constantly and it's hard to turn it off this year. Maybe you have really big visions this year about the future, or you see clearly situations of the past. There's a less emotional energy tied into your consciousness this year. You're able to actually see things for what they are and not distort it through emotional pasts or biases. The gift of having a big 3 in the air sign is really the ability to be open minded and to be present in the moment. You're not held back by any prejudices because of past experiences. And you're not stuck in the future of worries about things that might be. There is an ability of clarity, this lucid thought process where you can really be um, detached. You're kind of seeing everything from the bird's eye view this year. You're able to see things and not feel so entangled in it emotionally that you can really deal with things as they come. You can it's hopefully see it in a sense of finding balance and peace that would really make your rising and sun sign happy. The Gemini moon is really going to spark your curiosity this year. You're going to see that you have a lot of questions, or you want things that you've already been experienced in. All of a sudden, you want to know more and deeper. It's in the eighth house. So, once you get excited about a topic, I mean, there's really no stopping, there's no boundary to what you could accomplish this year as far as learning new materials to really deeper levels. So, Gemini is famous for having like many tabs open, but not really accomplishing to their fullest ability. But with it being in the eighth house, that's not really true. Now you have this ability to use all that mental energy to really go down as far into the foxhole as you want to and explore this great mental energy to its fullest ability. You can get um, loss of sleep this year on being exciting about new topics. Air energy, once it gets caught up in this whirlwind, it really can lose track of time. You lose your groundedness of having the Taurus rising, and you change that in for this energy. So you have two cardinal signs and a mutable sign in your big three. So I would say you might have a lot of energy, and it's a lot of mental energy. Clear out the bookshelf, be ready to put new stuff up there, and just have fun with this, um, knowing that you're still able to learn new things at any age, and then share that information with others, because air needs to communicate in some way. So let's talk about also that the sun is now in the 12th house. It looks like in your birth chart, it's in your fifth house. So where you might have had a pull towards, um, you know, creative expressions and really expressing yourself. That need is still there. The solar chart never supersedes any of the birth chart, right? The birth chart comes first. It's the most important. It is the map of your personality. So the solar chart is really just the year, because we took it from the birth chart, right? So the sun this year is going to be about where we're really going to focus our attention and where we're going to grow in our identity. The sun of the solar return is where the light is shining this year. What house it's in is the most important, because it's still going to be the same sign, right? Because that's how the solar return works. So now that it's in your 12th house, I'm seeing a lot more private energy here. I, prefaced this talk with saying that you're going to be really involved in like active and communication and relationships. So I could see you being like, what do you mean private? Well, I think that you're learning that you really are embracing this Libran energy of balance. So I think as much as you're going to see your ability, your language, your skills of communication, and your desire to express yourself verbally to another person and work on these communications, I think you're going to need a lot of time in private. I think a lot of your mental energy this year is going to be on more like behind the scenes things. You're not really standing in the spotlight like you do in a lot of your affairs. Your birth chart would suggest that you really took the center stage in a lot of courses in your life, and that this year you're being kind of guided into a more private version of that, a behind the scenes, so to speak. The show still goes on and you're still very important, but somebody else is on the stage. You're a supporting character. You're helping other people. You're not asking for recognition of any kind. The more anonymous you keep things, the more you're able to really meditate on your yourself and the values that you give yourself, and not really relying on an audience to say whether or not you're worthy. This year, you're asking to take some time and just be in your own mind of this great energy that you're going to have, and see if you can be there and not need to be having the center stage of things. So when the sun's in the 12th house, it's like the undoing of the ego. You're really here. You want to spend this year not, lifting other people up and being the support for other people, not really about personal gains and growth in the way of like society would see it. You want to feel it through like the karmic way of doing good for others because you really want to, and that makes you feel good. And you want to see people grow and blossom, and you want to speak words of support and affirmation to others. Like that's how you use this great communication energy, this mental energy. You want to lift people up, and you don't really want to be like praised for it. You want to just do it for the sake of that makes you feel good, and that's you doing service is what makes you feel good and keeps you going. And that's all the things you need. And I see that is conjunct to your south node. So I see that you're really capable, of doing this. Maybe you felt like this you've been called to that before, that there's been another time in your life where you felt like you were being called to be supportive and less taking the spotlight and just letting it shine on other people, so that this is something that's going to come easily to you, so you don't really have to feel like it's forced. It's just a natural flow and you're already really good at supporting others. The Libra energy likes to support others, and you kind of want maybe a break from being in the spotlight, and you kind of just want to be not all eyes on you this year. In your natal chart, I noticed that you had your Pluto conjunct your South Node. So I just think between that and moving out of the Scorpio moon, I just feel like there's like a lot of emotional healing that you've already done in life, and you've already ex- been exposed to so much, maybe drama, maybe grief, maybe just emotional pains, that I think the chart this year really shows that you don't have a lot more of that to clean up. You might have already overcome so much, and you might have already found a lot of peace in emotional healing, and whatever ways you've done that, I just feel like that's worth being said. I don't see a lot of that this year, of having to dig deep through these emotional pains. It's kind of like you've been freed of that. You can really pursue higher interests now because you're not held back by any emotional drama. You've already done that work. I see that the the moon squaring Saturn this year. And I know that sometimes can be like, wait a second, isn't that emotional work? Well, I don't know, because I see it's then also in a sesquisquare. If I'm saying that right, excuse me, I botched that one. It's a minor aspect, but it's to Venus. And I just feel like it's really talking about these close personal relationships that you have. I think it's saying to put in the work on communicating with the ones who you feel most intimate with, in really speaking your truth to them in love, in a loving way, but not being any kind of doormat to their needs, because I see this energy this year of wanting to lift people up with your words. But like, I think the red lines are saying like that there still need to be boundaries. The 12th house, we get lost in like saying, oh, take everything from me. There are no boundaries to my love, and that might be true. But I think the red lines are guiding you to say, actually, still keep those boundaries, because you've done so much work on yourself, and now we got to make sure that we're still preserving that. We don't want to slide backwards because we really care about people. We want to keep the healthy boundaries. We want to speak on when we're not being heard in relationships. We want to make sure that we're still doing work in relationships. We're still letting people know there's some things that we do need. Your Scorpio Venus this year, um, that's a little different. It's in the first house. This is a new energy for you. It's about, your needs in love might have intensified. There might be more that you're looking from an intimate relationship. It's talking to the moon, what do you need to feel emotionally secure? And, does your partner know that? Do the people who you're intimate with know that you actually have, you can play it cool and you can be really emotionally resilient with the moon squaring Saturn? That's one of the signs. You don't really show emotional pain. You can be cool and have a great poker face, but I think with your Venus and Scorpio, I think you actually get the most out of love this year when you're able to have this intensity too. Like, I think that needs to be communicated. I think you're able to find great, deeper ways to love yourself. And I think your style evolves. There's Scorpio's transformation. So Venus in your first house, are you going to transform your look this year? Are you revving up your sexuality? Are you interested in pursuing that as part of your intellectual charm and charisma? Are you wanting to get more communicative about your sexual needs and desires? Are you wanting to experience that? I think all of this is saying, like, put the work in that. Like, if that's what you want, do it. Saturn likes to reward hard work, and and there's joy to be had in that, in yourself. in your zest for life and in your relationships. So red lines are just opportunities to challenge and then get a great reward, where your trines are more talking to the ease of communication that you have this year. The blue lines, with your air energy, your Mercury's in Virgo, you have like this big three air. Like you can talk the talk, you can get so much accomplished this year intellectually. I think the red lines are saying, but where the real reward might be in is when you use that energy to really communicate your deeper desires with somebody. And like, are you still feeling romantically playful and having those needs met too? Because like that is an opportunity this year. It doesn't have to happen, but like, hey, if you want that to happen, it could. Like, go for it. While you're being supportive to everybody else, don't forget, like, you could actually have this major love transformation this year. You could fall in love with yourself more. You could fall in love with someone else more deeply, and you could transform your whole look and image. And in the sign of Venus, it's for creating this deeper love in yourself. Venus in the first house is just such an opportunity to feel, look, act beautiful, um, for this year. And it's like a huge blessing for having the Libra rising and the Libra sun. Venus wants to be there. So it's even though Venus doesn't love being in Scorpio, I think it's happy being in your chart in the first house. Like you could really look and feel your best this year. That's that's where I would want Venus in my solar return. I would love to see that. Yeah. And I can put the work in my relationships. I can feel my best and I can have the deeper love relationship with myself and someone else that I've had before. So that's like really a great year in my mind. I think that sounds great. Um, let's see, we have the square here goes, I don't know if I talked about this one. So red line, red line. Now we have the red line coming back here to talk to us. So Pluto's involved with your Venus. So when it squares like that, this is the opportunity to really build up your self-worth, like we talked about, but it's worth mentioning again, in particularly to Pluto, because Pluto could be an outside energy, so outside of yourself, where if we're not working on really taking this chance to love ourselves, feel better, look better, then it's suggesting that there's an outside circumstance that could say, well, if you're not going to do that, then, I'm going to show you the opposite of that. I'm going to show you why you should control that in your own life. There's a chance for someone to might be trying to pull you down in that way. And so it's really your opportunity to own your image of yourself and the self love and this beauty that you have the potential to capture this year, and really not have anyone take that away from you or be in control of that feeling of yourself. Like this is the year that you control how you feel, and this is the year that you're worthy, and you make it so clear that no one has to teach you a lesson about it. And the more you own it, the more you are really transforming these beliefs into these higher self-worthy views. And you might already be a confident person. This is just saying, let's, if there's something you wanted to try new and you do try it, because that's the transformation of Scorpio, love it too, even no matter what, no matter what, you're trying new things, you're being playful, you're having fun, and no one's gonna make you question that. And then let's also talk about your part of fortune. So the ninth house, I could have sworn that this is where it was going to be, because when you have all this higher intellectual energy, it just makes sense that your part of fortune would be in the house of higher learning, right? Because you're mentally on fire this year. And I just think, well, if you're mentally on fire, then what would you do? If it was me, I would probably want to learn something new. You have the ability to learn a new language. Um, let's see. I'm trying to bring up your birth chart. Did I bring that up? Yes. So in your birth chart, it's in your 11th house. So you have the part of fortune of, where you can just find good luck and ease and ability. It's just a point, it's a calculation, it's not actually a planet, but it's just based on these Arabic calculations that when you were around people, friendships, it brings you good fortune in life. And that's great. That's a good place to have it. But now this year it's saying that in your ninth house is where you find it. So let me see if I can move this back now. Okay, yep. So now in the ninth house, you have not really so much about other people and relationships with them. It's about expanding your own mind. So, what do you want to learn about this year? Luck, ease, good fortune comes from you taking the chance to explore something new. And with it being conjunct Mars, so your Mars is in Cancer, I think if you can combine these two things and you get a different energy here, something more active, like you need to actively pursue a way of expanding your mind this year. And with your sun in the 12th house, I just feel like, is it a spiritual endeavor? You have 8th house energy, you have 12th house energy. Those are both like very metaphysical, very occult, very offbeat, not based on the everyday. These are like spiritual houses. Like, are you where you want to be spiritually? Have you this great energy right now that you want to pursue your newest spiritual quest deeper? Do you want to go travel to a spiritual retreat? Do you want to actually like be a spiritual teacher? The Mars energy suggests that you have a lot of ambition and drive in this new space of learning and expanding. I mean, it could actually be travel. Do you want to go travel somewhere? Um, it's like just saying, really, the sky's the limit if you're willing to do it. It could be a new physical, it could be a new exercise regimen that really gets you fired up and energized. In Cancer, it's that nurturing and kind of this energy to me with the Libra and everything makes me feel like you really want to support other people. So, like, are you going to bring family members in this? Are you getting everybody more experience? Are you broadening everyone's horizons this year with some like philosophical or spiritual or physical adventure? And really, it's helping yourself, but maybe it's helping somebody else who is close to you and they're not going to do it themselves. So you're kind of nudging them with this Mars energy, like, hey, we're going to go do this and it's really going to help nurture you. I'm kind of in the background here, but like they're not going to do it without me. And I'm the one that had this idea because I have great visions this year and have like the ability to clearly see what people need to be working on. I could definitely see that being this calling this year to go for it. And lastly, I don't know how we're doing on time, but I did want to mention that Jupiter's so close, it's like on your ascendant in your birth chart. So when I see that in a birth chart, I'm already like, this person is already lucky in life. Like, I think you had your share of hardships, so don't let me underplay that. But I just feel like your energy is very like charismatic and very optimistic in general. And I think you might have had to endure some things, but I think that it didn't rock you in a way that you ever lost that person who remained like trusting things and just knowing like it's going to work out. And I don't see that leaves very far. It's trining your ascendant this year. So it's a conjunction is like, excuse me, I forgot you are an astrologer. So I'm sure you already know all of what all of these mean. So excuse me for saying all of this in uh, layman's terms. But when you have the trine still this year, you can imagine that it's still very powerful. So you still have this energy again. And I think that is going to even light the ninth house up for you too. So between all of these houses that are connecting. There's just a lot of going on. There's a lot of talking between the planets this year. This mental energy, this ability to expand your mind, or your physical life, and doing it in a nurturing and supportive way. But I still feel this energy about you that people around you and closest to you are really going to feel that you're really generous because that's just the kind of person you are. And that is so emotionally part of who you are. And people feel it right away with it being that close to your ascendant. And even now, I wonder if every year that we did a solar return, if Jupiter's just hanging out somewhere close to your ascendant. I think it's just part of your personality. And you have the conjunction to your moon. I just feel like that's going to help boost this emotional communication this year. People are going to know that you're doing things and speaking from a place of love. And I think relationships are just going to get even deeper and more meaningful this year. So I guess that would be the biggest takeaway. Um, the outer planets I don't super go into because that's not always the most effective for the conscious changes. But for the sake of being wholesome here, Uranus in the eighth house, so sudden changes in what being interested in the cycle and rhythm of life, I think is important to you. And I think that you might just have Uranus on your side with this air energy, just sparking spontaneous turns and changes and where your interest is being drawn. And I just think if you can be open to any topic, nothing's off limits, nothing's too taboo or eccentric. I think that you might really find that you're called to studying something that is deeply interesting to you. Neptune in the sixth house, the everyday routines, Pisces and Neptune, our health, our everyday routines, our being of service. It's like the spiritual energy here. And if you look, it's in the opposition to your sun this year. But I just think that they're both spiritually based, right? Pisces and Neptune are the energy of the 12th house. So I feel like this work that you're doing to really be like the behind the scenes person is going to be something that you feel in your everyday life of supporting, and it's going to give you spiritual growth, but it's going to be something that is really like showing someone else like this unconditional love side of you to help just be of service for the sake of being of service, like no strings attached. Like I just feel like you want to, like you're just getting like this karmic work done this year of doing good for the sake of doing good. You don't need to be like praised for it. You don't need a big party about it. You just want to be doing some good. Okay, well, I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for your interest. Let me know if you have any questions.